I'm Jeremy Hill with the Justin Journal, coming to you from higher ground here in Justin. Today we are talking with Jason Wood, who is running for City Council Place 5. We'll hear about his priorities for the city, his vision for Justin's future, and what motivates him to serve the community. Stay with us to get a closer look at Jason Wood and his plans for our city.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for City Council?
Yeah, so I'm a husband of 20 years, father of two kids. One's in college, one's in elementary school, and I run my own business. So I have a small business. There's 11 of us on the team, and I have 8 of them have families, myself included. And so I've been this leader for a while and making these tough decisions. And I kind of saw the political climate when I came to Texas and said, man, this is, I think it's something that I can do really well here based on the experience that I had. Moving to Justin, I actually moved to Frisco first, got out of there because of all the traffic and the growth, came to Justin and said, okay, this is where we really want to plant, our roots here, and got involved a little bit on some of the city council meetings, attending. Recently actually joined the HOA board in the Meadowlands. So I got to really see the residents, my neighbors, not just on my street, but the other streets. And I had a small impact there, and I said, I think it's time. I think I was called to run for city council here, so that's why I'm here.
What experience have you had serving the city beyond your current role?
Sure. So I think when it comes to city experience whether city council or boards or anything that had to do with government entities, I've never been into a government position. But like I mentioned, there's a couple things. Being a husband for 20 years, I mean, as a husband, you got to learn how to listen. You have to learn how to humble yourself sometimes, even when you're right, you're wrong. And so that was one area for me. Having kids, even I have a daughter and a son, and how we communicate with my daughter is a lot different than how I communicate with my son. And so for me, it was maybe not the government standpoint that I have experience, but from a life standpoint, understanding that piece. And obviously from a business owner, I have multiple personalities. I have multiple individuals, some that are very, type A and some that are really passive. So for me, I think it's an easy transition. And really, government it's just the people, right? So I try not to separate, okay, this is private or public, because at the end of the day, it's ultimately ran by the public, right? So for me, I think it's just an easy transition over from an experience standpoint.
If elected, what would your top priorities be?
Yeah, I've got a handful of them. One is I think about the road infrastructure is a big piece for me. Coming from another state that had major growth, I was not happy with the traffic, and my house actually backs to 407. And I see, we have a pool in the backyard, and my kids are out there, and we have cars sitting there being stopped by the train. Driving in other areas, whether it's down 156. Infrastructure from a traffic standpoint is number one, or at least a top, maybe a 1A, 1B. The other part is bringing in additional revenue. I'm very big on more of that low density standpoint. Obviously, you have to have revenue to run an organization. You have expenses, you have to have revenue to take care of those. But I want our growth to be very specific and strategic, not just throw 50,000 homes, you have a 2-lane highway, and you got a ton of cars there. So I think you take that infrastructure, I think you take growth smart, which is I'd rather bring in more retail. I eat out a lot. We eat at home, but I order food. We go to restaurants, we do things, and there's only a small handful of restaurants here for us or places to shop. I'm spending money in other cities. Why not spend money in our own city so that we can turn it back into it? So for me, those are kind of the top two. I have other things, obviously, having kids, parks and trails and things like that are a high priority. But those would be the ones that I'd really focus on.
Realistically, what do you hope to accomplish the next 2 years?
Yeah, good question. Um, I think going back to the 2 points that I had on the road infrastructure and bringing in retail, I think working with the EDC on the retail is probably going to be something that's faster, because of course roads, you got TxDOT and you have county commissioners and other things that play part. So I think it's a little bit more challenging because you have other entities that are involved in that. But I think attracting businesses here, I think that would be something that I'd love to accomplish within the first 2 years. And also, too, I think just personally, I want to get to know this city more. I want to get to know the people more. I've been here for 2 years or almost 2 years. And I think even for myself, I need to get more involved, not just whether the city council thing I win or I don't win. I would love to. I think I would be a great representative. But I think at the end of the day, I want to do more for the city. I want to get out and do more for community. I'm thinking about farmers markets and other things where I love the rodeo play. I love our fun days. I love these things. And how do we continue that culture? I'd love to get that in the first 2 years.
Looking further ahead, where do you see Justin in the next 5 or 10 years?
Well, you definitely, I think there's kind of two plays. Where do I potentially see it going based on where it's at and where would I like it to go? Definitely there's going to be growth. You look at North Lake, you look at, even going from here to Decatur, we've got a bunch of space, but things are growing west, through Treeline. So the growth's going to be there. We have a lot of ETJ surrounding us. So now the question comes into what happens with that. I think the growth definitely is going to be, you're going to have additional population here. But and if things go the way that I'd like, we're going to have more retail space. I'd like to figure out how to limit that balance. At the end of the day, I think we're going to be more residential growth. I don't think the commercial growth is going to expand as great as the residential will, but I definitely think those retail spaces where we can get increased revenues from them, from sales tax and things like that. I definitely see it going there in the next couple of years.
What do you see as the biggest challenge or headwind facing Justin right now and the person who wins this race?
I still think it goes back to the infrastructure. I think so the city council has 6 places and you have the 7th with the mayor. So you have 7 individuals that have to come together and find some common ground, right? So just even within the decisions of the city of those 7, then you take that out and say, okay, well, what does it look like with developers? What does it look like with retail? What does it look like with commercial? I think the biggest headache's really just going to be how we manage that growth. And I think even for myself, and I can't speak for any other council member that's running, anybody else that's currently on there, but I think for myself is how do we manage these relationships to make sure that it's, yes, you're going to have a win-win, but the city has to win greater than anybody that's external from the city. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. How do we manage that part for it when it comes to our growth?
What do you believe is the proper role of local government, and how should taxpayer dollars be prioritized?
Yeah, I think I'm big on small government. So I think when you're looking at like infrastructure, roads, safety and security, so law enforcement, fire department, water infrastructure, things that are more of that necessity within the safety aspect to keep our residents safe. Outside of that, now you start looking about budgets. I mean, these are necessary entities. You get into like libraries that are necessary, schools necessary, things that help us continue on for generations. When you start looking at where we're spending our money, the government we have to be wise. I'm a taxpayer, you're a taxpayer, we're all taxpayers and we want the money to be spent properly. But I think there are some areas that are very line in the sand we have to absolutely have. And I think there are some areas where we can have consideration for it.
There's been discussion around term limits for the mayor. Do you think Justin should consider changes to the mayoral term limit?
Sure. Well, we do have term limits the way it is right now. So do I think that we would change the term limits that we currently have? I'm okay with that, the term limits we have. But I definitely am not okay with, career politicians. So term limits for sure there. I'm happy with where it's at right now.
With residents increasingly asking for transparency, what specific changes would you support to ensure that community stays informed?
Yeah, great question. So recently we had the water pipe break right here, right by Riata Ridge. And one of the things that went out was we had a text. It took a little bit, but I was getting on my Ring message, hey, water's out here. And we started to get stuff. So the residents were out there communicating this a lot faster than the city did. So, for me, that's one area, obviously just one example. How we communicate, the social aspect is huge. But I think a lot of this is really word of mouth, right? If we have a frontline conversation to our city manager, frontline conversation, obviously there was text messages, hey, any questions, contact city manager. He responded pretty fast to me, so I was happy with that. Um, I think transparency is kind of a handful of things. When you get into budgets, you can't say, okay, let's go line item, line item. You're going to spend 10 hours doing it, and you're going to lose people. I think at the end of the day, when infrastructure is being created right, when we don't have the traffic, when we have options to shop, I think it's a little bit easier for us. But from a transparency standpoint, it's our money, our money paying for government, so we should know about things. I think quicker aspects, so using technology to be able to get out to the residents a lot quicker. I think there's ways that we can be more involved, not just have the residents be more involved with us, but us being more involved with the residents. It's not, hey, it's city councilman or woman X, it's Jason, and hey, how can I help you? What can I do for you? What do you need? I think those things, when we start getting back to that small community feel again, but use technology, is going to help us greatly in the future.
The role of city council often requires daytime availability for things like developer meetings, ribbon cuttings, and community events. What does your daytime availability look like?
Yeah, easy for me. So I own my own company. I am work from home. Randomly, I'll go out to shows, but 99% of the time, I'm available. So you tell me, hey, I need you here at 5 in the morning. Great. You need me at 1. You need me whenever. I'm available. No problem for me.
What is your overall approach to staying accessible and maintaining consistent engagement with residents?
Yeah, anybody can have my cell phone. Anybody can have my email. Obviously, public records, they can know where I live. I don't want people showing up at my house unannounced, but I don't mind. You have a conversation, text me, whatever we need. Obviously, I'm one of many. I would be one of many that would make decisions, but I can help influence this on whatever that question is. But access to me, I'm nothing special. I'm just a representative of the residents, or I would be. So you can call me anytime, text me. I'll be there to help.
On a lighter note, what is your favorite drink?
Kind of boring. Okay, so I would say I really just drink water with lemon. But if I'm gonna splurge on myself, I am boring. There's a hot chocolate with salted caramel. I don't drink alcohol. I don't drink sodas. I'm a boring drink guy. You ask me about food, maybe a little bit different, but yeah, drinks. That's about it.
What do you do for fun when not serving the city?
I'm I love hanging out with my family. I'm a home guy. Um, Everything that I do is for them, and so hanging out with my son. My daughter's in college, and so when she comes back, we hang out. Um, but hanging out with my son, playing basketball, football, fishing, go camping. I'm a big shooter, so I love shooting. Going out to Quail Creek, or getting out, out in the fields, not here, but at a couple of my friends' houses, and go shooting. Those are big things for us.
Finally, and most importantly, why should the citizens of Justin vote for you?
I think that with the way government is, so I've been in having my own company for almost 5 years now, and I've had to sit in front of directors, CEOs of major hospitals and multi-million-dollar organizations, and have some tough negotiating and contract discussions. And I think there is budgets and numbers and these things are 100% absolutely important. And as a household, you can't go negative, or you can't pay your bills. You got to do these things. But I think with our growth, it's there's individuals, whether it's developers, whether it's the county, whether it's the state, whether it's even individuals in city council, you have to be able to, one is not only have your stance of what you believe, but be able to negotiate with that and still see it from another person's point of view. And sometimes I will, okay, this makes sense and it's the best as a whole. But I think for people to vote for me is, I don't back down to, I don't just cater to anybody. I don't have anything to prove. I have a great marriage. I have great kids. I have a great business going. And at the end of the day, it's not about Jason. It's about Justin. And so when you want somebody who's sitting there, while I am one of 7 or one of 6 on the council and 7th with the mayor, it's my voice is pretty loud for everybody else. I don't back down if this is the right thing for the city. I've sat in worse or higher positioned with individuals from a corporate standpoint, and I don't back down. We get things done. I feel like if something's not working, you figure out how to make it work or you move on. We don't have time for us to play around, because while we do that, everything else is moving faster than speed of light, and we're going to be behind. So if you want somebody who's going to push hard and be pretty loud to do it the right way with tact and know how to negotiate without being a bully, then I'm definitely going to be the one you want to vote for.
Thank you. We'd like to thank Higher Grounds here in Justin for letting us use their space to record these interviews. The Justin Journal is committed to providing information for our community and does not endorse any candidate. Our goal is to simply give residents the opportunity to hear directly from those running for office. Thank you.